Stephen Sondheim didn't just write music and lyrics, he also thought and said a lot about how musical creativity works. He liked to analyse other people's songs and shows and their approach to making music and musical theatre. Sometimes he could be a little bit waspish, as he was in 1973 when, in an interview with Newsweek magazine, he was asked about Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein II. Now, Sondheim was famous, but those guys were the gods of Broadway. In the 40s and 50s, Rodgers and Hammerstein had revolutionised musical theatre. They'd made the musical more direct and authentic and character-driven. And Sondheim knew both men well. He had a difficult relationship with Rodgers, but he was close to Hammerstein, who was a mentor and a father figure to him. He also knew their working methods, which is why what he said in that interview is so interesting. Oscar Hammerstein was a man of limited talent but infinite soul, and Richard Rodgers was a man of infinite talent but limited soul. Now, that may be accurate about the strengths that each man brought to the partnership, but when it comes to their limitations, it seems a little unfair, on Rodgers in particular. Fair or not though, wrapped up inside that throwaway remark is an important idea about how music is made. In fact, about how any kind of art is made. As I do my thing on YouTube, posting piano tutorials and videos about music theory and songwriting, I keep knocking up against this relationship between talent and soul, and it bothers me, because I think that as musicians we often get the balance between them badly wrong. But let's wind back for a moment. What exactly does Sondheim mean by those words, talent and soul? Well, for Sondheim, talent is always developed talent. He once said, everybody is talented, it's just that some people get it developed and some don't. Talent is raw ability plus things like technical skill, theoretical knowledge, creative experience and judgment. It's the basket of tools you use to construct a piece of art. Talent is vital because no piece of art, no piece of music just appears in a flash of inspiration, even if sometimes their creators want you to think they do. Soul is simpler. It is, or ought to be, both the starting point and the final goal. It's what you put into your piece of art to give it substance. It gives it something to say, some kind of meaning. And the thing is, you need both. To create good art, you need talent and soul, reason and inspiration. As Sondheim himself put it, art is skill in the service of passion. The problem with talent and soul is that it's easy to prioritise one and neglect the other. Some people try to be all soul. They say, I don't need to know any of this technical stuff, it just gets in the way of expressing myself. And very occasionally they're right, but usually they're wrong and mostly they fail. Getting distracted by talent is actually worse because it can affect you even if you're very capable. Talent easily gets bogged down in technical details or dazzled by technical opportunity and loses sight of the big picture. I often see this on YouTube. A lot of music learners prefer tutorials that are very algorithmic, very talent oriented. Press this note and this note and this note at the right time and in the right order and tick, you can play it. I try to push back against that mentality and inject a little soul into things. I often say, listen to the music you're making, use your judgment. Does it sound right? Is it saying something? But that kind of soul-oriented stuff, I guess it can seem a little wishy-washy. It certainly gets a lot less traction than the fact-oriented, algorithmic, talent-based approach. People seem to prefer facts, or what appear to be facts. You'd be amazed, for example, how many people are more interested in how a chord should be named than in the musical effect it has. You'd be boggled by the comments I get from the jazz police, who diligently categorise all music into that which definitely is jazz and that which definitely isn't. Then there's the obsession with music tech. On YouTube, it's easy to find thousands of videos about gear and sample libraries, hundreds of tutorials on how to edit MIDI data or program realistic string sounds. But if you want to learn how to use those amazing gizmos to write meaningful music, well, then you'll have to look a lot harder, and often you'll look in vain. To be fair, the soul side of things is difficult to express and analyse, and tutorial videos do disproportionately interest those of us who have a methodical, talent-focused way of thinking. But it makes me wonder if, as a culture, we're kind of out of whack. We're skewed towards talent rather than soul, and we've wound up preferring the technical to the expressive, the material to the abstract, the systematic to the serendipitous, and the showy to the profound. That's a problem because, like I said, to create good music, to create good art, you need talent and soul. I've spent years on YouTube helping people develop their musical talent, but ultimately, I think soul matters more. Given the choice between good, meaningful music played on an old, out-of-tune upright piano and dull, soulless music expertly produced with a ton of high-end kit and software, I'll take the good stuff on the out-of-tune piano anytime. Of course, we should all keep working on our talent, but we need to remember that talent is a means to an end. Work on your soul as well, because if you have something to say, if you can put a little bit of something intangible into what you're doing, then at least some of the time, you'll play or write or produce music that is worth listening to. And you might be surprised how easy it is to put your soul to work. When you're making music, ask yourself, what am I trying to express through this? What thought? What emotion? Try to make that your starting point. It might be love, it might be religious faith, it might be a painting or a photo you've seen, or inspiration from a movie or a book, or it might be plain everyday annoyance, disappointment, happiness, satisfaction, or whatever. Remember, art is skill in the service of passion. Talent constructs the music, but soul gives it substance. So start with the passion, start with the feeling, start with the soul, and use the talent to make it happen. Richard Rodgers had worked with other lyricists before he worked with Oscar Hammerstein, notably Lorenz Hart, and he put his infinite talent to good use, because with Hart he created some great shows and some legendary songs. But the revolution, the touch of genius, came when he started working with Oscar Hammerstein II, the guy with the infinite soul. The real brilliance happened when talent met soul, when great skill worked in the service of great passion. This video essay form is kind of a departure for me, so if you've enjoyed it, let me know in the comments, because if people like it, I'll make more. In the meantime, if you want to put a little bit of zip into your piano playing or songwriting or music theory knowledge, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I promise it'll be good for your talent and your soul.